Hey guys, it's Miss Sonatore. I'm out enjoying a beautiful day after all the rain in my backyard. I'm so excited to be back with you guys on this beautiful Thursday. I'm excited to see what happens next in our story. But first, I want us to take a look at this awesome class plant. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and now it is so tall and so big that actually some of the leaves are actually falling off of the side because it is so big. I'm so proud of our class plant and I love it. I hope you love it as much as me. Before we continue with our Jigsaw Jones mystery, I want to start with a great big hug and just remind you guys that I love you and I miss you and I'm always here for you, always sending my love from my house to your house. So yesterday we read 2 chapters of the Jigsaw Jones, the case of the stolen baseball cards mystery. We found out that the note from the Phantom was on the back of Kim's homework, but then it didn't end up being Kim, so I don't know who it is. So let's actively listen as we read 2 more chapters. I wonder if we'll find out who it is today. Here we go. Chapter 7, A Pain in the Neck. Miss Maloney answered the door. She held one baby in her arms. Another baby was on the ground grabbing her leg. "You've met the twins, haven't you?" she asked. "This is Harry, and the little guy sucking on my knee is Larry." "That's the thing with twins. They all look alike. To make things worse, Harry and Larry dressed alike." "How do you tell who's who?" I asked. "Oh, a mother knows," Miss Maloney said. "But here's a tip. Larry has a big freckle on his nose, and Harry doesn't." "Is Biggs home?" I asked. "Yes, he's in the family room. He's supposed to be doing his homework." She wiped Harry's nose with a tissue, but I think he's watching TV instead. I found Biggs in the family room. There was no homework in sight. But that wasn't the weird thing. Biggs was dressed in red long johns and a red long sleeve shirt. He wore blue underwear on top of his long johns. Biggs wore a mask over his face and a black cape. The letter P was taped to his chest. Biggs was jumping up and down on the couch, throwing fake punches. He was watching a wrestling match on TV. "Jigsaw, you gotta see this," Big urged. "The Red Phantom is about to pin the Terrorizer." I didn't have much choice. You don't argue with Biggs Maloney. After the match, Big clicked off the TV. "Let's wrestle," he said. "I'll be the Red Phantom and you could be the Terrorizer." But Biggs," I said, "wrestling isn't really my—" Wham! Before I knew it, Biggs pounced on me. Then he twisted my body into the shape of a pretzel. "Pinned," Biggs shouted, thrusting his fists into the air. "The Red Phantom triumphs again." He looked down at me. "You all right, Jigsaw?" he asked. I tried to wiggle my fingers. They still worked. "Is there a doctor in the house?" I said. Biggs laughed. "You're funny." "Yeah, funny," I groaned. Biggs helped me up. "I'm going to be a professional wrestler when I grow up," he told me. "Either that or a florist." "A florist?" Biggs laid his huge paw on my shoulder. He had the grip of a grizzly bear. "Yeah, what's the matter? You don't like flowers?" I told Biggs I liked flowers. I loved flowers. Some of my best friends were flowers. Finally, he released his grip. My shoulder ached, but at least it was still attached to the rest of my body. "Want to wrestle again?" Biggs asked. "I need to practice my double knee drop." I'd love to, really," I said, backing up, "but I'm in a hurry. I actually came to ask you a few questions about Eddie Becker." "Don't even say that guy's name," Biggs said. "He owes me a baseball card. Now Eddie says he can't pay me back." As Biggs told it, I wasn't the only guy he mangled in a wrestling match. Last week, Biggs and Eddie watched wrestling on TV together. Then Biggs pinned him 6 times in a row. "We made a bet," Biggs said. "If I won, I was allowed to take my pick of his best baseball cards." I thought it over. "But without any cards," I said, "he can't pay you." "Almost," Biggs said. "Eddie's still got plenty of cards, but they're all commons. I wanted one of his prized rookie cards." "What's a common?" I asked. "Every year they print thousands of baseball cards," Biggs explained. "Some of them will be worth a lot of money someday. But most cards," he said, shaking his head, "will never be worth anything. They're called commons. Most collectors don't want them." I scribbled notes in my journal. Then I got out there in a hurry. I didn't know what a double knee drop was, and I sure didn't want to find out. It sounded painful. Chapter 8, Grams. I limped home, aching and tired. This detective business was hard work. My big, clumsy, ever-loving dog jumped up and licked my face. "Rags, no! Stop it! Yuck!" One minute I was a pretzel, the next I was a human popsicle. Oh, brother, I could start my own restaurant. My mom called me in from the kitchen. "Dinner should be ready soon, Theodore," she said. "Why don't you get cracking on that school project of yours?" That's my mom for you. Somehow she always knew about my homework, even when I forgot all about it. I went into my room and pulled out the banner that Miss Gleason gave us. I wrote my name across the top, Jigsaw Jones. I used different colors for each letter. I thought about my favorite hobbies. I drew a picture of a big magnifying glass. Inside, I wrote Finding Clues. I drew pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. I wrote puzzles. Then I drew a self-portrait and I wrote drawing. There was a knock on my door. "Dinner time, Shorty?" That was my sister, Hillary. She's 13. I didn't exactly love being called Shorty, but I guess it beats Peanut. Grams had everyone laughing at dinner. Grams is my mom's mom. She lives with us now because after Grandpa died, she didn't like being alone. That was fine with me. I love Grams, and besides, she always gives me butterscotch. Grams told us about the first time my dad picked up my mom for a date. "I didn't like him," she said, laughing at the memory. "He had a big bushy beard, he wore dirty jeans with patches all over them, and he had a long ponytail." Hillary laughed so hard that she squirted milk through her nose, and that made us laugh even more. Hey, my dad said. "It was the 70s. Everybody dressed like that." "I know, dear," Graham said, patting his hand. "You can't judge a man by his clothes, but I'm sure glad you don't dress like that anymore." After dinner, I asked my mom if she knew anything about baseball cards. "Don't ask me," she said. "Grams is the baseball expert in the house." "Grams?" I said. My mom just smiled. "Go ask her." Well, people will surprise you. Just because you see the outside of someone, it doesn't tell you what's inside. I guess Grams learned that about my dad, and I was learning that about her. Grams brought me into her room. She pulled out an old tin from her night table. Inside, wrapped in a rubber band, were some old baseball cards. I mean, really old baseball cards. "Are these worth a lot of money?" I asked her. Grams waved her hand. "Who knows?" she said. "Probably not. These cards are like me, old and worn out. Collectors like to keep them in plastic, shiny and new. But I'd never sell them. These cards help me remember the old days." She touched the tip of my nose with her finger. "When you get to be my age, memories are worth more than money." We sat and talked for a long time. Actually, Grams talked. I just listened to her scratchy voice. She told me stories about the old days, about going to Fenway Park with my grandfather to see Ted Williams and the Boston Red Sox. He was some ball player, Grams recalled. "I always loved the Red Sox, and I still do." She got quiet for a while, just picturing it in her mind. The green grass, the noisy crowd, and my grandfather in his wide straw hat. Then she whispered, almost to herself, "Those were happy, happy times." That's the last thing I remember, because I fell asleep in Grams's lap. And that is the end of chapter 8. That's the end of what we're reading for today. So that was really cool. We actually got to see a nice memory that Jigsaw Jones has with his grandma. So Jigsaw Jones's grandma likes the Red Sox. What baseball team do you like? If you have a team that you like, you can draw it or just tell me about it on the Facebook page. I would love to know. Meet me back here tomorrow for Fun Friday to finish the story. Who took Eddie's baseball cards? We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.